Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would record my training again for you guys today. So you got 3 training sessions in, and just to make sure everyone's aware, I actually train 6 days a week. And I always squat, pull, and press of some type unless I specifically pull the presses out if my shoulders are hurting. And today I didn't deadlift. My Fridays tend to be really rough for me for a number of reasons. Mainly, a big part of that is because I'm doing a CKD and this is my last day before I carb up. I carb up on Saturdays, and I don't do heavy work on Saturdays before I do that. I do all my bodybuilding type work rather than my power training. All my high rep arm work and delt work and all my isolation stuff gets done on Saturdays since I'm going to have carbs afterwards to replenish all that glycogen. So it's just heavy stuff. The squats went okay. I'm definitely feeling the fatigue on these. I mean, I'm getting nice and deep on these pause squats, but I still have that bit of a forward lean issue. I was really struggling to stay tight today, and I think that's just general fatigue causing that. Because again, I don't have any real help with recovery. I'm not getting food. I don't have the hormones, all that stuff to really help me recover. And it does get really tough once I get pretty well carb depleted. And I apologize, I missed the first set of 200 kilo squats. It's not on here. I only recorded 3 of those, but I promise you I did 4. I promise. And someone will call me a liar since, no video doesn't count. But I did do it, and as you guys can see, as I get further into these squats, I'm starting to get pretty fatigued. The forward lean is becoming a problem. The bar speed is decent, although I notice I slow more near the top than I might like than I normally do on my belted squats. I think that's largely due to the bit of forward lean slowing me down that I don't have as bad once I'm belted up. But I need to get my core and everything stronger with this beltless work for a while again. Before I start training belted. It's going to carry over tremendously when I start getting ready for my next meet. So if I can keep that strength up while I'm cutting on these, I'll be good to go. And here's the last rep, and you can see it does get pretty tough for me near the top. I'm really having some issues with a little more forward lean than I want. And some people are saying it's not excessive, but to me it's excessive. This stuff really needs to be perfect. And there it goes, and a little slower than I might like. I'm normally a more explosive lifter, but we can attribute that to the general fatigue. And then up next, it's everyone's favorite lift, the bench press. Of course, I close grip and they're paused, making it not quite everyone's favorite, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. You got to build those chesticles and tricepticons. Although I may not be building that much with singles, but whatever, you guys get the idea. The first warm-up felt really good here. Well, this wasn't the first one, it was my last warm-up. And then I go to the 140 and crank out 4 singles. All of those were decent enough. The first one coming up here was the worst one. It took me a bit to really get in my groove. This one was a bit of a grinder for me because most of you know that I am a fast bencher. I don't grind well. In fact, I missed the lockout on my 3rd attempt at the British. So I don't grind really well. I'm all about speed on the bench press. If I can get it moving fast enough, I'm good. This first one was a bit of a grinder for me. I had trouble getting in my groove today. And as you'll notice, it goes down okay, but as it goes up, look at that, just slow. And that lockout was slow for me. And then I kind of got into my groove, and on the next few, it goes pretty good, as you'll see. But it just goes to show you that sometimes getting your nervous system warmed up, getting your technique down can take a little bit. And since I don't do a lot of warm-ups, that can be an issue for me. And that's one of the reasons I think that my bench press has suffered, is that I do a lot of building to one peak set of 3x3 or even one peak set of 3. And I don't always get enough nervous system warm-up with the heavy work from not doing enough singles. And I think that for me, that's really hurt my ability to hit a 1 rep max on the bench press. My bench press should really be better than it is at this point back in my training after my recovery and coming back. So that is my game plan going forward, is to do a lot more singles on the bench press, and of course a lot more shoulder work, because as most people who really understand the bench press will tell you, whatever your weakest muscles are in your upper body, if you just hammer those and make them bigger and stronger, it will usually bring your bench press up. And for me, I feel like my delts and my shoulder girdle in general have been a limiting factor in my bench press, and possibly even my triceps to some extent. So on those Fridays, I really come in and I hammer those triceps hard, in addition to all this overhead pressing and rear delt flies and stuff I do. And the rest of the benching went pretty well from here. Again, they were a little slower than I might like because I'm a fast bencher. But again, the general fatigue, I'll take it considering the total number of sets I did. And today, rather than do a back off set on the squats like I did in the last video, I did a back off set on the bench press after this, which you guys will see up next. But here we go, this last single actually went pretty good. It was faster than the first one, I think. So again, it goes to show that nervous system warm-up can be an issue for getting enough speed. And these were just pretty straightforward. I just did a triple with 130, which is no big deal. Fresh, I can do about 6 reps with this, usually 6 or 7 on a good day. But after doing 4 singles, this felt heavy enough that a triple was good. Remember, stimulate, don't annihilate, particularly when you are trying to cut. You're not going to build muscle anyways. Taking a set anywhere near failure is just stupid. You're just eating up recovery ability. And then after that, I did 7 sets of Pendlay Rows. These are straightforward. This is only my second time doing these. Again, I took several months off of these and used weighted pull-ups and weighted chin-ups for my back along with deadlifts going into my last meet. But I feel like the Pendlay Rows, taking them out, has slowed down my power a bit, and I really need to be doing these. And as you guys will see in these are fast. I only took 30 seconds between sets, so it took me about 4 minutes to do all 7 sets of 3. And again, the focus here is speed, speed, speed. People try to turn something like a Pendlay Row into an ego lift. I almost am going too heavy on it. It almost needs to be a hair stricter to do these perfect. But I'm okay with that. My strength will go up on these because back at one point when I was rebuilding my base after the qualifier earlier this year, I was building up as many as 10 sets of 3 on these with 10 kilos heavier and keeping straight form. So I'll rebuild my strength on these. And these are a large part of what built most of my back mass and the size I had on my back going into this meet, because I kept all that size when I changed into the other lifts. It was doing these in this sort of manner. And if you guys remember that study Brad Schoenfeld released earlier this year, he showed that this style of training induces an equal amount of hypertrophy to standard bodybuilding training. To do these high volume triples with relatively short breaks. At least that's what his data suggested. I'm not saying it's conclusive proof by any means, but the data definitely suggests it, and many, many, many coaches over the years have noticed that this stuff works just as well as hypertrophy work. But you can train to get better speed and power at the same time. So it's good for both of those. Just maybe doesn't give you quite as much endurance. And then after this, the only other accessory I did was some rear delt flies, which are something I do a lot of. I do a lot of rear delt flies and a lot of face pulls, again, to balance out my delts for pressing. Now, granted, it can help you guys for aesthetic purposes who want a well-balanced shoulder girdle, particularly when you turn to the side. But I do these because it is for overall safety on your bench press, and keeping a stronger shoulder girdle and rear delts, quite frankly, will reduce your chance of shoulder injury on the bench press. So it's good to do a lot of rear delt work, just for overall safety and as prehab work, if nothing else. And I did 1 set of 12 here, and those are 10 kilo plates. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. Badass though.